So I haven't done a Vox article in a while. PewDiePie's ties to white supremacy spell serious trouble for the future of YouTube. YouTube's most popular celebrity keeps dallying with the alt-right, and his 76 million followers don't seem to care, of which I am one of them. If you haven't already, do your part and subscribe to PewDiePie. He must not... You gotta side with him over this T-Series. Whatever it is, he cannot be stopped. But this is another Vox whole guilt by association thing of how the biggest problem in the world is if you've ever had a conversation with someone who once was friends with a guy that watched a video that referenced a joke that made fun of Nazis, you are now a Nazi. That's generally how this works, and that's what this is. Something along these lines. YouTube's most popular user is once again facing backlash, this time for promoting a highly anti-Semitic channel by recommending a video featuring a racial slur in a white supremacist conspiracy. So for one, highly anti-Semitic, which, again, not just anti-Semitic, highly anti-Semitic, which means that this isn't just some subtle references. This is blatant, like, anti-Semitism. This is blatant, highly being every video talks about how awful Jewish people are. But apparently, despite being highly anti-Semitic, the average person watching the channel would not be aware of this, as far as I can tell. I admit I'm not motivated, and I did not do enough research to the point where I went through the guy's entire channel and watched all of his videos. I'm not going to do that, but I watched a few of them. I watched a few of the ones in reference on 2x speed, so that's my credentials when it comes to this guy's channel, not PewDiePie's, but this supposed anti-Semitic channel. And I did not see one anti-Semitic reference. Now, again, that's not to say they're there. I didn't watch the whole channel. But in the few videos and clips here and I saw some jokes, certainly. So if this guy is anti-Semitic, if this guy is a supposed secret Nazi, he's not making it very public, and he doesn't seem to be, at the very least, it doesn't seem to be something that the average person would get from a cursory glance. So we can say it's not highly anti-Semitic, because I have seen some highly anti-Semitic channels, and this is not one of them. With 76 million subscribers, controversial. I don't know why he's controversial. He only seems to be controversial to the people in Vox and The Verge. Controversial in terms of politics. I mean, I suppose you could say he's controversial in terms of some people like his channel, some people don't. But it's, of course, you can see all the keywords they've added in here. Felix Jelberg is the most popular individual on YouTube in a since-edited video, which apparently... I just learned this today. Apparently you can edit YouTube videos now without having to remove it and re-upload it. I never knew that. I don't know to what extent you can edit them. But apparently he took down that portion where he mentioned it. Posted on December 9th, he recommended a litany of YouTube channels he said he'd been enjoying recently, briefly mentioning a YouTube channel called ER, noting that it produces great video essays, including one of the Netflix movie Death Note, which I really enjoyed. He also linked to the channel in the video's description. The recommendation has since been edited out of the video and the description. So the weird thing is, remember that apparently I have seen Vox go after people before for even platforming and publicizing anti-Semitic people and channels and all that. So it does seem rather odd that Vox is currently blatantly stating the name of this anti-Semitic channel that people can now go to and watch and subscribe to. It seems rather odd that they're going after him. Now, granted, they're not endorsing the channel, which PewDiePie didn't seem to do. He just kind of said, hey, he produces some good stuff. So I fail to see that as an endorsement of everything this guy's done. But yeah, apparently what he was doing was he was getting all these subscribers from the whole PewDiePie T-Series battle, and he was like, you know what, I gotta recommend some smaller channels. He wants to share, or he wants to promote some smaller channels. So we did 28 smaller channels. This one seems to be one of the last, if not the last. And it just so happens that this guy produces some stuff that Vox doesn't like. Again, is it actually anti-Semitic? I have no idea. But from the little bit of research I've done, if he is, it's not quite clear. Because again, suppose there is kind of a fine line between jokes and is this guy serious or not? Because a lot of people like to joke about that, which I have nothing against people that like to joke about that. So I can't tell if Vox is just falling for some edgy jokes, or if he's actually anti-Semitic or not. But again, from the cursory glance I did, watched a few videos here and there on double speed, I saw some jokes. That's all I saw. I did not see anything that would describe as highly anti-Semitic. To casual observers, PewDiePie's support of ER may have appeared harmless. Yes. To the casual observer, yes. One YouTube user supporting another. But a more than cursory dive into the channel would have revealed a litany of disturbing imagery, slurs, and white supremacist messaging. Again, I suppose what you could call it is, what my research could be called is cursory. But I don't think... again, it's not blatant enough to where they're describing it would be accurate. The outcry against PewDiePie's recommendation of the channel was immediate, with media outlets and other YouTubers citing it as an example of PewDiePie's ongoing dalliance. I don't know if that's a typo for alliance. Dalliance. I don't even know if that's a word. Maybe I'm just dumb. In alt-right culture. In response, PewDiePie released a follow-up video on December 11th in which he sarcastically described the incident as an oopsie and scoffed at the idea that he was promoting neo-Nazism by merely recommending someone for their anime review. And if you watch the video, that's what actually happened. He was like, yeah, this guy produced a good anime reviews, and one on Death Note in particular, which I have not seen it. I saw the second part of the review, which, again, had some edgy jokes in it. No Nazism. But yeah, this is, again, like, from what I imagine, PewDiePie did not watch this guy's entire channel. He probably doesn't follow him on Gab. And I see no ties here. I say nothing at fault. All I said was I like the guy's anime review. The channel creator apparently likes to have hidden and not so hidden Nazi references in his video, and obviously if I had noticed that I wouldn't have referenced him in the shout-out, I said publicly a year and a half ago that I was going to distance myself from Nazi jokes and that kind of stuff because I want nothing to do with it. Generally, I've done that. I don't really have a reason to dip into that again. It's just stupid. So we're talking about Nazi jokes here. Remember that, like, Nazi jokes are not endorsements of Nazism. In fact, if they were, it wouldn't be a joke. It's kind of like, it contradicts itself. Like, if you're going to make a joke about something, usually it's implied that there's a lack of an endorsement, because if you do endorse it, it stops being a joke. That's kind of how that works. It's like if you were to include as PewDiePie did, he made a few Hitler jokes in there. He's a channel that does jokes. That's the kind of stuff he does. He doesn't do, it's not subtle messaging, it's not a political channel, it's not, like, propaganda. If you're including, like, Hitler references, it's a joke. If it's a joke channel. So there is a very important difference there. In fact, it's one of those things where it's kind of concerning. Like, if you find a joke isn't funny, okay, cool. Like, some jokes aren't funny. Jokes are subjective in a lot of ways. But the idea is that if you're going to make a Hitler joke or some kind of Nazi joke, the joke isn't funny if you're a fan of Hitler. That's usually how that works. It's kind of like rape jokes, for example. When people make jokes about, like, raping people, like, I'm usually not a fan of that kind of humor, but if someone makes a rape joke, the punchline usually relies on the fact that the person is a terrible person. Like, if the punchline is that the guy is raped someone and is lacking self-awareness, that's a bad thing, that is the joke, that the guy is a terrible person and does not realize it. Like, that's where the humor comes from. If you're someone that, like, thinks rape's not such a bad thing, then you wouldn't find rape jokes funny, because you're like, what's so funny about that? It's something where when you make edgy jokes like that about horrible things, the fact that they're absolutely horrible is what makes them funny. Like, you have to understand that the thing is awful for it to be funny. That's how that kind of genre. I can't believe I'm explaining jokes. But each of the three videos PewDiePie, I can't talk. Each of the three videos PewDiePie featured in his since removed shoutout of the ER channel featured fairly obvious examples of the channel's offensive content. Okay. So now, fairly obvious examples of the channel's offensive content. Are we talking about offensive content in general, or are we talking about anti-Semitism, neo-Nazism? Like, what are we talking about here? We did a bit of a switch here. In fact, not only did one part of the Death Note review that Schellberg said he linked directly invoked a racial slur in the video description. This description has since been edited. Again, I have no idea what the racial slur was. I can't source it because it has since been edited. But the first 15 seconds of part 2 contain a blatant reference to a 2017 incident in which Schellberg himself dropped a racial slur, which was the N-word. That was him That was him referencing, like, he was playing a video game, he got really frustrated and angry, and because of that, he shouted out the N-word. Now, I don't see that as such, again, like, my view, generally, he shouldn't have done that. It's usually a bad thing if you're going to shout out the N-word and call people the N-word in a public stream or in public. That's generally a bad thing to do, but I give him a bit of forgiveness, considering in his mind, what he was doing was thinking, he was so frustrated that he thought of the worst possible word that he can imagine and said that. Like, he was so angry at the guy that apparently he was playing some video game and the guy shot him and killed him. And he was thinking of the worst possible word. So it's kind of something where it's like, do I endorse people saying, like, throwing out the N-word in videos like that? Not really. Do I endorse people calling other people the N-word? Not really, no. But it's a bit understandable when it's acknowledged that he said the word because it was the worst possible word he could think of. So at the very least, you can tell he's not a secret Nazi. He's not a secret, like, he's not a secret racist or anything. But that's that. So again, not an endorsement, but that's basically a breakdown of what happened. So what happened? Yeah. So what the video actually did, I'm not going to play the video, but I'll leave the link to the article in the description if you want to go through it. But yeah, he shouts, "Oh, you effing N-word," was what the guy said. Was what PewDiePie said. The guy in the video cropped it and said, and cut out the part, or cut it to the part where he says, "Oh, you effing." Like, that's what he said. That's the part of the video he cropped out. That's like, okay. That's all that was. Like, that's a joke. It's not even like anywhere even borderline offensive. Because again, it's like it's a guy that I guess doesn't understand internet humor. But you're talking about, like, if you make a reference to that, that doesn't mean you endorse it. That doesn't mean you think it's okay. Like, it's, again, I don't want to jump to the video, but I will link it in the description if you want to watch it. It's like, it's in the, again, first 15 seconds. In fact, I think it's actually in the first, like, 10 seconds. But once I watched the first 10 seconds, I was like, wait, that's it? Like, that's what they're getting upset at? So it's pretty much nothing. It is a reference to that moment. And of course, when there's anything controversial, a reference to the controversial thing is a joke. Like, I can't believe I'm still explaining jokes. But if you're referencing a controversial thing, like, that's edgy humor. You're not endorsing the controversial thing. You're not saying it was a good thing. That's what that is. So somehow, again, the people at Vox, it's what, again, it's something where either they're being deliberately terrible and slanderous, or they're just morons and they're walking into something they know nothing about. Whoever wrote this article, Miss Alfa Romeo. But yeah, essentially anything more than the briefest research on Schellberg's part would have revealed that ER channel's overt anti-Semitism and white supremacist signifiers. Its channel even sarcastically refers to his reputation as a racist in his channel FAQ. Okay, two things here. Am I talking way too loud? I think I am. Would have revealed the channel's overt anti-Semitism and white supremacist signifiers. I have yet to see any evidence. There was there was a racial slur in the video description. Like, okay, I can't say what it was, but I need context. I need more details. Like, is it a joke? Is it edgy humor? Because, like, you know what edgy jokes are? Like, edgy jokes are people trying to be as offensive, like, their job as, like, edgy humor people is trying to ride that line between offensive jokes and being terrible. They're trying to ride that as close as they possibly can. So it's like, I need some context here to know more about what's happening. White supremacy, they have no evidence of that so far. They referenced that the guy apparently referenced a controversial thing where he took the first 3 words but cut out the offensive word of a PewDiePie clip. So again, I see nothing, because I'm basing it off of there might be worse things. There might be worse things on this guy's channel. This guy might actually be a white supremacist. That's the thing. He might be, because I haven't watched his whole channel. I don't know much about this ER guy. But the thing is, I have quite a bit of confidence that he's not, because if he was, they would have taken that evidence, the strongest evidence they had, and put that in this article. They would have said, like, oh, here is undeniable proof right here. But all they did was, I mean, it might have been undeniable proof in the video description, but they didn't, like, the description has since been edited. I can't figure out what that is. And and they quoted like, oh, a reference to something that was controversial. Like, that's not much evidence there, and I'm going to assume that this is their strongest evidence. So this is why I can't take them seriously. This is why I can't trust them. Its creator even, they said, this is a quote from the article, its creator even sarcastically refers to his reputation as a racist. So I'm going to say that Vox even admits the guy's not admitting himself as a racist. He is sarcastically referring to himself as a racist. You know what that means? When people sarcastically refer to someone as a racist? Or when someone when someone does that, it means people call them a racist and they're not. Like, that's what that means. When someone says, like, sarcastically that they're a racist, the fact that it's sarcastic implies that people are referring to them as that, and that's not what they are. If someone refers to them as a racist and it's not sarcastic, then sure, I'm going to take them at their word and say they're a dang racist. But the creator, as the article admits, sarcastically, like keywords there, that this is, I watched from the few clips I saw, it's not my kind of humor, but it's obviously humor. It's obviously jokes. You can say they're offensive jokes. You can say you don't like the jokes. You can say, like, it's not your kind, like, you're not a fan of it, like, you don't endorse those kind of jokes. You find them offensive, fine. But you can't deny the fact that they're jokes, that it's a humor channel. It's an edgy humor channel. It's not meant to be propaganda. Should PewDiePie have known better? His critics say yes. Of course, his critics are honestly, like, again, I don't follow PewDiePie's channel or his Reddit. I don't follow him too well. But from what I can tell, the only people really being like saying this is such a huge issue are the media, are the people that hate him, are people that I don't trust, that I know have done things bad in the past and have lied. Though he has been dismissive about the uproar, this is far from the first time he has dabbled with alt-right beliefs, and he's previously faced backlash for this type of incident so many times that it now seems more than a little intentional. But PewDiePie and his supporters say his critics are overreacting to a harmless mistake, all while tens of thousands of new subscribers have followed the anti-Semitic channel based on PewDiePie's brief endorsement. That's actually false, because tens of thousands implies multiple tens of thousands, and as we've seen, 15,000. So a bit of a nitpick there, but again, it's this is an article. I write articles. This is all about, like, everything you say must be true. You shouldn't be stretching the truth. This is how you stretch the truth. I can nitpick an article because I know how articles work. Like, I'm not a professional writer or anything, but I know how writing works. That this is all subtle stuff that matters. And this is so annoying because it's like it's such intentional, obvious falsehoods here. All while tens of thousands of new subscribers. It's 15,000. Tens of thousands implies 20, 30, 40,000, something like that. At least. 15,000 is not tens of thousands. If you think that's alarming, especially given the many teens and preteens who watch and are influenced by PewDiePie, you're not alone. In many ways, PewDiePie's trollish irreverence and offensive-proof shock humor embodies a more pervasive overlap between YouTube's gaming culture and its alt-right culture. Of course, it's going back to gamers are alt-right, gamers are racist. That we've been hearing that for years, both from the right-winger Republicans saying video games cause violence, and from the left saying, like, oh, gamers are sexist, gamers hate women. It's honestly, it's down to people who don't understand jokes. That's honestly what it is. Like, if you go into like any political community, you're going to find offensive jokes that you probably don't understand if you don't follow that community. Like, if you go into like communist networks like that, everyone's going to say, like, everyone's going to make jokes about throwing you in the gulag. Now that's pretty dang offensive, I suppose, especially to maybe Russians that grew up during the Soviet Union and might have been in a gulag. They're going to make all kinds of jokes about throwing you in the gulag. I'm pretty sure they're jokes. I mean, I'm not a communist, so they might not be jokes. But as far as I can tell, they're jokes. Same thing with like alt-right and even non-alt-right, but like the some people call them alt-light, but like honestly just the right-wing community. Honestly, actually the anti-communist community, we can say that. The groups that are anti-communist, you're going to have references of throwing communists out of helicopters, because that's what Augusto Pinochet did during his regime in Chile. He threw communists out of helicopters. That was his way of doing it. If you were a communist, he would load you up in a helicopter and throw you out, and you would die. I have yet to meet a single person that actually endorses that method. I've yet to meet a single person that has said that seriously and genuinely and fully endorsed a dictator. It's all jokes. Like, it's something where If you see a bunch of people saying awful things on the internet and you think they're awful people, chances are they're making jokes and you're just not aware of it. That's how I view things. Now, there are awful people on the internet, yes. But you have to be able to decipher between that. And that Vox is making things worse by saying, like, instead of focusing on actual neo-Nazis, instead of focusing on actual fascist, like, alt-right people, instead of actually trying to, like, reduce their influence or tackle them or debunk them, instead of going after their actual enemy, they're going after people like PewDiePie, who have made jokes. And again, like, I don't watch him too much. I used to watch him, like, really back in the day, in, like, the 2012. I was one of his first. I subscribed to him before he had 1 million subscribers. But I can tell you the guy's not anti-Semitic. I can tell you the guy's not a Nazi. I can tell you this because it's blatantly clear to anyone that's not, like, anyone that's not trying to specifically go after and ruin his career, that it's all jokes. Again, you might say they're in bad taste. Okay. But if someone's making a joke about Nazis, you can't say they're a Nazi. That's how that works. You can't say that. The channel that PewDiePie linked to is a hotbed of anti-Semitic racism and alt-right rhetoric disguised as pop culture commentary. The ER YouTube channel has a long history of anti-Semitic imagery and messaging. The channel's anonymous creator, who uses the channel's handle on several online platforms, also habitually links to his accounts on alt-right identified social media sites, including the white supremacist Haven Gab. Now again, more fake news stuff. And I mean that unironically, like actual fake news stuff. White supremacist Haven Gab. I suppose that's technically correct. It's kind of like, I suppose you could call YouTube a white supremacist haven. You can call all kinds of sites white supremacist. Like, there are all kinds of white supremacists on YouTube. I'm just going to say that. So is YouTube. Would it be accurate to describe YouTube as a white supremacist haven? I suppose it's by definition accurate, but you can tell it's very sleazy to do it that way. Because you can tell that, like, if you go on alt-right, sure, you'll find some anti-Semitic people. But it's kind of like, I guess you could call, it's like if you were to call Twitter, like, a jihadist haven. It makes you think that everyone on there is a white supremacist. That's not how that works. But so far, again, that we're this far into the article so far, and I've yet to see any definitive evidence, like blatant, like super hands down proof that this guy is a white supremacist. And now again, he might be, but I've yet to see evidence of it, and I feel like if there was evidence, they would have put that blatantly at the top here. The Death Note review that PewDiePie cited uses a racial slur to refer to one of the characters in the movie. Okay, so I watched a little bit of that. I'm not sure exactly what racial slur they're referencing. He did refer, I think he referred to as Asian Americans as rice Americans, which, if you can't tell, that's obviously a joke. Again, I'm trying to. I feel like maybe I should just go through with it and not even try to clarify, because you understand by now that it's like, if you point out something as a joke, that doesn't mean you endorse the joke. You think it's a funny joke. It could be in bad taste, but it is a joke nonetheless. The video also contains a reference to a false white nationalist conspiracy theory that Heather Heyer, the protester who was murdered at the white supremacist Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017, whose killer was recently convicted and sentenced to life in prison, actually died of a heart attack. This indirect dog whistle, if you don't know what a dog whistle is, it's essentially kind of like a way that people understand one another. Like they'll reference a certain word that only other people understand, that agree with them on certain things. This dog whistle form of alt-right messaging is common for the channel, which deliberately uses pop culture imagery, mainly drawn from the animated series like Death Note, in particular the Cartoon Network series Steven Universe, as a tool for spreading white supremacist propaganda. Some of the many, okay, so I do want to address the actually died of a heart attack thing. I have done research into that, and as far as I can tell, I'm no expert, but as far as I can tell, you can both be hit by a car and killed because of the trauma, and also die of a heart attack. Like, I mean, I work in the medical field. That's as far as I understand that. When, like, I've seen people fill out death certificates and that stuff. When you fill out death certificates and that, you can say, like, oh, how did this person die? Like, the person was hit by a car, and then, like, blood loss died of, blood loss led to their heart stopping. They died of a heart attack, kind of thing, or that kind of thing. Like, it's something where it's not necessarily mutually exclusive things. You can be both hit by a car, which could lead to your death, and also have a heart attack. Like you were hit by a car. Being hit by a car, the trauma leads to a heart attack. The heart attack is what kills you. That's my understanding of how that actually works. So in the sense of they're both kind of true. Like, it may have said on the death certificate that the person died of a heart attack, but that doesn't mean, like, trauma by a car was it. That's how I generally understand it. That, yeah, that actually died of a heart attack doesn't prove anything one way or the other. But I'm just seeing, so I'm trying to skim through because this video is already 25 minutes long, but it does bother me again. White supremacists should unite the right rally in Charlottesville. Were there white supremacists there? Yes, no doubt. I'm told by people on, like, the people that were actually at the Unite the Right rally and in support of the Unite the Right rally, people have told me, yeah, there were people waving Nazi flags there. There were actual white supremacists there. But if I remember right, Unite the Right rally, the whole point, again, they call it Unite the Right. So it's not like a Unite the White Nationalists. It's Unite the Right Wing. And they were all there to protest. They were all there to protest the taking down of the Confederate statues. So pretty much, if you opposed people taking down the Confederate statues, and you were at the Unite the Right rally, and you could make it. That's the thing. That's essentially what happened. Like, that's essentially the people that were there. They were people that opposed taking down of Confederate statues. Were there white supremacists there? Yes. Were they the majority? From what I hear, no. So make of that what you will, but I hate to see people going after that like that. Some of the many examples littering the channel's videos include frequent reference to media creators and other public figures using the historically loaded slur Jews, and I didn't know Jews was a slur, to be honest. And references to anti-Semitic conspiracy phraseology such as the Jewish question, a frequent alt-right dog whistle that refers to the, I'm not even going to pronounce that, German for final solution to the Jewish question, the official code language for planning and carrying out the Holocaust. So yes, referencing the final solution, referencing like the Jewish question. Those are anti-Semitic things. Those are white nationalist things. Those are things that are put out by the alt-right. So, again, I need context. I need like actual, I did not see those in the videos I saw, which for that reason is enough to forgive PewDiePie, because if I didn't see it with watching, like I saw maybe 2 or 3 of his videos at double speed, if I didn't hear it, I'm going to say it's not blatantly obvious as they've been promoting it. It's something that could easily be looked over if you're not a dedicated subscriber to this guy's channel. But that's something where this is actual evidence here. If you're talking about the Jewish question, if you're talking about the final solution, then yes, those are anti-Semitic things. The guy's also an edgy YouTuber, so I need to know, were these things said in the context of jokes? Were these things like edgy jokes, or was the guy serious? That's what I need to know. Because if the guy was serious, then yes, I agree with Vox. The guy's apparently alt-right. I disagree with Vox about how they've described everything so far. But if the guy is unironically talking about the Jewish question, then yes, he is alt-right. The channel also refers to black characters from pop culture as Negroes and contains mentions of being red-pilled. Okay, again, I need reference or I need an actual, like, why didn't they put a source? Why didn't they put a source here? The fact that they mentioned being red-pilled, that's not an alt-right thing. Alt-right people, sure, they bring up red-pilling. Like, the alt-right would consider themselves red-pilled, but that's something where pretty much as long as you're not on the far left, anyone like from the center left to the far right uses the term red-pilled. The whole like referencing black characters, Negroes, that's certainly a bit questionable. Again, was that edgy humor? Was that deliberate? Is the guy actually racist? I don't know. I need some, like, why didn't you cite your source? Blatant racist imagery and stereotypes, homophobic slurs, mocking references to feminism and the idea of rape culture, sexist slurs, and sexist portrayals of women. So these last few things, I don't see that as evidence at all. Blatantly racist imagery and stereotypes. Again, were they jokes? I need some kind of reference. Notice how they didn't cite their source. Like, if you've ever seen my articles, when I try, like, as soon as I reference something, I have a personal goal in my articles to have as much, like, hyperlinks, have as many hyperlinks as possible, that whenever I can cite something, I will. And I'm annoyed that here, when they actually reference something, some accusations of racism, and here, like, even everything they're referencing up here in the top paragraph here on my screen, they're referencing definitions, but they're not referencing what the guy actually said, which, like, why? And then, yeah, homophobic slurs, it's probably a joke. Mocking references to feminism, I mock feminism, or at least third wave feminism. The idea of rape culture, of course, that deserves mocking. Sexist slurs, again, I need, like, what kind of sexist slurs? I need some context here. And sexist portrayals of women, I need more context there. In the thumbnail for one video, the channel's creator distorts a black actor's face to exaggerate their features in a blatantly racist fashion. Again, that's another kind of joke where people exaggerate people's faces. Like, I need... Why didn't you link it? That's why I have to throw all this stuff out, because why didn't you link it? In another video, ER turns a clip in which Barack Obama repeats the phrase "choose hope" into a deeply anti-Semitic slur, referencing a notoriously horrific fact about the Holocaust. I'm looking at the URL at the bottom here. Human fat was used to produce soap during the Holocaust. Why didn't you reference it? And throughout many videos focus on Steven Universe, ER presents the show's characters as analogs for Jewish people, coding them with anti-Semitic stereotypes. In one such video, he portrays one character as a deceptive tool for a global Jewish conspiracy, as indicated by a montage of public figures and businessmen, and then ends the video with an altered version of the white supremacist slogan known as the 14 words. Okay, what was it altered to? Like, I want to know what he actually said. Like, if you're going to link to the ADL, which no doubt probably says the 14 words, you're like, why aren't you repeating it? That's what I'm bothered by, because all this stuff sounds pretty bad. Like, I'll admit that. A lot of this stuff sounds pretty bad. Coding them with anti-Semitic stereotypes. Yeah, that's bad. Portrays one character as a deceptive tool for a global Jewish conspiracy. Sure, that's bad, but why didn't you cite the sources? I need sources here. He did cite that video, I'll admit. He did cite the video for the global Jewish conspiracy, which I didn't watch, and I'll admit I should have watched, but I will get back to that. I'll probably watch it after this video and post an update in the description of the video. But that bugs me that a lot of these things that sound like, when it gets to its worst, where I can say, yeah, actually, this article might have a point here about this guy being far right, they didn't cite their source. In other words, there is serious anti-Semitic and white supremacist propaganda underlying the great video essays that PewDiePie endorsed. This seems to be like guilt by association, because it's something where a lot of these things they reference, like making fun of feminism. Do alt-right people make fun of feminism? Do white supremacists make fun of feminism? Sure, but loads of other people do as well. Loads of other very blatant anti-racist people do as well. Since PewDiePie's December 9th video drew greater attention to the ER channel, YouTube has reportedly suspended one of the creator's videos and issued a strike against the account for violating the site's community guidelines. The suspended video, which according to ER had 2 million views at the time of its removal from YouTube, was ostensibly about Steven Universe, but it also contained 4 minutes of unedited footage of Hitler delivering a speech. Now, that sounds like a funny joke, like something that could be a hilarious joke, just a Hitler speech that just kind of goes on and on and on that you weren't expecting. That is kind of a joke. But maybe it was unironic. I need, like, again, considering he was talking about Steven Universe, I don't know if he would add white supremacist propaganda in that too. And plus, Hitler delivering a speech. Were there subtitles is what I want to know. Because if there weren't subtitles, then yes. Like, that's obviously a joke. But if there were subtitles, then yeah, you might have a point. But I need context. YouTube has not yet responded for Vox's request for comment. Why would YouTube have to respond to that? That just seems dumb. This is not the first time that PewDiePie has used his considerable influence to peddle alt-right. I'm sorry, this video is so long. 33 minutes. To many YouTube viewers, the content of the ER channel itself isn't as concerning as the fact that PewDiePie, who again is YouTube's most popular individual user, has now endorsed it. He didn't endorse the channel. He said he has some good videos on there. And that PewDiePie has what is by now a well-established larger pattern of affiliation with alt-right ideas and alt-right personalities. See, the issue is here, like, to Vox, I am probably alt-right. Like, if I was a big channel, no doubt Vox would probably be like, yeah, this guy's alt-right. And I think anyone that watches my channel would know that I'm obviously not. So this is why I can't trust Vox. It's more of their past history, knowing that whenever they say alt-right, I can't trust them. Because they would include people like me as white nationalists. And that like, considering that this whole article is about how PewDiePie is apparently, like, alt-right, or apparently sympathetic to the alt-right, that immediately in itself, they have yet to provide any evidence of that. They're using guilt by association. They're saying, oh, PewDiePie has a link to this channel, and this guy happened to put out some stuff where he might be alt-right, but it's not very blatant. So, like, for example, if PewDiePie were to, include in one of his, like, if you were to list the videos he endorsed, and one of them was like Richard Spencer, Millennial Woes, a channel that is blatantly alt-right, then sure, you have a point. But what you can't do is say, oh, this guy, PewDiePie recommended this guy for his anime reviews. And apparently, this guy includes edgy jokes. And apparently, if you go to the guy's Gab account, he might be a secret racist. And it's like, I need better connections here than just dumb guilt by association. In the days since PewDiePie first linked to ER, the channel has gained 35,000 new followers, which, while many critics of PewDiePie on both YouTube and other social media platforms have spoken out against him. I'll have to check recently, but at the time of the thing, it was only 15,000. No doubt, Vox certainly had something to do with it. Verge certainly had something to do with this guy getting new followers, considering they're publicizing him. Now, I'm not saying Vox intentionally doing that. I'm not saying Vox is at fault. I'm just saying if you're going to apply the whole guilt by association thing, Vox seems to be promoting this guy's channel. The largest YouTuber on the planet made a video that got 7 million views in 7 hours. Hassan Piker, who, dear God, I don't know too much about Hassan Piker, but I've watched 3 of his videos, and they are absolutely god-awful. And considering he's a commentator for the Young Turks, not exactly the best credential in the world, on his own YouTube channel. That seems like a big problem, especially if the majority of his viewers are 14-year-old kids who are going to go over to his channel and start watching the guy's cartoon videos. ER has an interest in red-pilling people and turning them over to Nazism or fascist ideology. How do you think this will play out when PewDiePie hypes this guy's channel? PewDiePie is once again doing exactly what neo-Nazis want. Kotaku reporter Nathan Grayson commented on Twitter, whether he's just memeing or he ascribes to these values, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he normalizes these ideas as jokes on the platform where kids increasingly get their first exposure to the world at large. That's not normalization. Like I said, you can argue that maybe he should have been more careful. You can argue that. I'm not opposed to the idea that he should have been more careful. If it's as blatant as Locke says, which turns out not to be true. Like, again, if it's true that the guy is actually alt-right, and that's only clear from, like, 1 or 2 videos on his channel, and it's only clear from his Gab account, then, like, I can't blame PewDiePie at all for not noticing that. However, if it's more blatant, like Vox seems to claim, then sure, like, I can say, maybe you should have, like, done a bit more research into it before. But then, on the other hand, it's like, how is he normalizing this? Like, he didn't go into the video and say, his video and say, that this channel puts out good stuff, everything on this channel is good, it's all, like, great stuff. That's not what he said. He's like, yeah, I like the guy's anime reviews, and I think it's quite obvious that when he says he likes the guy's anime reviews, he's not commenting on anything else he does. But yeah, as Grayson notes, PewDiePie's endorsement of the ER channel continues a long trend of the vlogger using his influence to normalize white supremacist alt-right rhetoric to an alarming, and on YouTube, increasingly widespread degree. In okay. Leave a comment if you're alt-right and you were influenced by PewDiePie, because we've already seen like the whole alternative influence network report, which came out back in September, which went through and basically tried to do one of those, like, if you've ever seen the crazy investigator or a crazy conspiracy theorist having all the different thumbtacks on their board and connecting them with yarn and looking like a crazy conspiracy theorist, trying to connect the dots like that. This seems to be what's happening. If you look at the Alternative Influence Network, they did pretty much that. They were like, oh, this person had a conversation with this person, and then this person had a conversation with a white nationalist. Therefore, that first person is now promoting, like, Nazism. And they did this with, like, Joe Rogan, right? They put Joe Rogan in the mix, and they were like, Joe Rogan talks to a guy that once debated an alt-right person. And it's like, oh, the fact that Joe Rogan talked to a guy that once debated an alt-right person means he's now spreading alt-right ideas, because all that person has to do is then follow the guest he had on the show, and he'll be exposed to white nationalist ideas. What you can see is it's pretty dang easy on YouTube to be exposed to white nationalism. Like, it's actually pretty easy to find white nationalism on YouTube by accident. Like, if you follow politics on YouTube, you'll probably find some white nationalist views. But what you'll also look, if you look at the data, if you even look at the Alternative Influence Report, if you look at this data, you'll find that generally it's so easy to access these white supremacist ideas, and yet nobody's paying attention to them. Like, honestly, like, how many of these people, how many, like, go up to the average person Go up to the average person and ask them to name white supremacists and see how many they can name. They'll name David Duke. They'll name Richard Spencer. Do you even think they can name, like, who else do you think they can name? Do you really think they can name a third person? And I think that says a lot about society, the fact that the average person probably can't name more than these two people. Now, I suppose there is differentiation between white nationalist and white supremacist, which, to me, it's a distinction that isn't too relevant for me, but I at least will acknowledge that there's a difference there. But like white nationalists, for example, we'll just talk about just white nationalists, not white supremacists. I can name probably 8 or 9 of them. I'm not a white nationalist. Like, I can name 8 or 9 of them, which is way more than the average person can do. I've been exposed to these ideas repeatedly, and I'm not a white nationalist, believe it or not. Surprise, surprise. It's something where you'll see that a lot of people are being introduced to these ideas, and few people actually accept them because they're bad ideas. In 2016 and 2017, PewDiePie faced intense backlash for multiple instances in which he promoted Nazi symbolism and anti-Semitism, including a video in which he threw a Nazi hail salute. Again, like, you really think you're going to start converting Nazis by jokingly throwing out a hail salute? And one in which he hired a pair of performers from a freelancer website to hold up a sign reading "Death to all Jews," ostensibly as a satirical exercise. I mean, again, it's a joke. It's a joke. If you want to watch the actual video, I'll see if I can remember it again. Maybe he took it down. But what he did was he went to the site, I think it was Fiverr. He went to one of those sites where, like, those freelancing sites where you can say, like, I want you to do this, and I'll pay you to do it. And the whole thing was he was trying to see, like, what people would actually go to, like how far people would go for those, like, what is it, $5, $10, whatever. So he wrote up a thing saying, like, someone hold up a sign, make a video holding up a sign saying "Death to all Jews," and he recorded his reaction, and someone actually did that. Now, again, isn't in bad taste? Probably, like, it's not something I would do. That's not something I would put up it's not, like, of all the worst, I can think of a lot of bad things to say. I probably wouldn't go that far. So it's something where, yeah, it's not a real fan of not a real fan of doing that. However, again, what Vox's misunderstanding is that, like, they're mistaking this as, oh, this is obvious white supremacist propaganda. It's like, no, it's jokes. Again, you can dislike the jokes as, like, I didn't find this joke very funny. I didn't really enjoy this joke. I would have preferred if he not did it. I don't endorse it. But I still acknowledge that it's a joke. I still acknowledge that it's humor. You can attack him for saying, like, yeah, it's humor and poor taste. You can attack him for that, saying this isn't this kind of stuff you should be doing. But to say that this is, like, propaganda, I don't think this is propaganda. And then they referenced his racist slur during a live stream, which I already went through. Man, this video is going to be long. Through the furor around PewDiePie's repeated antics has subsided after each of these incidents, his corning of alt-right ideas has not, which is a flat-out lie. Though he has never openly identified himself as a member or supporter of the alt-right, he has continued to like and promote channels run by alt-right affiliated YouTubers, which, oddly enough, they're not even saying, like, notice this here. He has continued to like and promote channels run by alt-right affiliated users. So he's not saying, this article is not saying that he has promoted alt-right channels. They're not saying he has continued to like alt-right channels. They're saying he is this is guilt by association. He has liked alt-right, or he has liked channels that the alt-right also like, kind of thing. And earlier this year, here we go, I can already see what's going to happen here. He made a video in which he reviewed the right-wing personality and alt-right hero, Jordan Peterson's controversial self-help book, in this review, PewDiePie endorsed the book, calling it a fun read, and said he would take some of this advice. Alt-right hero. This is something like, Imagine if I made a video about, like, Obama. Like, I made a video on Obama's presidency, and I concluded with, yeah, alt-right hero Barack Obama. Like, alt-right website Vox.com. Alt-right website The Verge. This is the comparison here, because for people that don't know much about Jordan Peterson, the alt-right despises Jordan Peterson. The alt-right hate Jordan Peterson. Because you know why? Because they're like, why doesn't Jordan Peterson talk about the Jews? Why doesn't Jordan Peterson talk about the whole Jews controlling the planet kind of thing? Why does Jordan Peterson spend time debunking alt-right conspiracy theories? Why does Jordan Peterson spend time debunking the alt-right? This bugs me, because again, alt-right hero, it's something where Vox has this I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Because imagine that. Like, I'm trying to think of a public figure that I can compare as to a ridiculous statement as that. I guess all I can say is alt-right hero, alt-right news website, Vox.com. That's all I can say to that. That is the kind of comparison made here. Alt-right hero, Vox.com. The alt-right like Jordan Peterson about as much as they like Vox.com. Honestly. I don't think... Usually in these videos I just laugh, but this is actually making me angry. This is bothering me. It's like when they go Joe Rogan, alt-right hero. It's like, you morons. You cannot genuinely be this stupid. You have to be terrible. Like, there's no way you can be this stupid. Additionally, in response to PewDiePie's I guess that's short for recommendation, of the ER channel, its owner described PewDiePie as producing red-pilled content. Honestly, does PewDiePie produce I mean... I suppose PewDiePie is supposedly a gateway to not thinking that everyone you disagree with is a Nazi. I will say that much, because I appreciate that. Of all the people to be number one on YouTube, I'm glad it's him, because he's not a right-wing channel. He's not a politics channel. He doesn't talk about politics that much. I don't know what his politics you are, but you can tell he's at least politically neutral in the sense that he's not on the left. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that he's not one of those people that's like, everyone I disagree with is a Nazi. Honestly, I wouldn't even want him to be more political. I wouldn't want him to talk about politics more. I like how he is. I like how he puts out good stuff, and he's just not politically poisoned by the far left. I appreciate that. Before declaring in 2017 that he would stop making Nazi jokes, PewDiePie made a whole lot. Yes, someone actually devoted their time to spending a good 9 months or something like that to just go through, or they went through 9 months worth of content to make a list of all his Nazi jokes. Jokes! Notice that. Jokes! That's the thing that they don't realize, that if you're going to make Nazi jokes, the thing is, I'm pretty sure to make Nazi jokes, you have to understand that Nazis are bad. Like, that's how jokes work. I already went through this. Even since then, he's produced a long line of satirical videos and commentary that his alt-right followers have praised as example of dropping red pills. Again, alt-right followers, where is your evidence of that? Dropping red pills. Sure, it's a guilt by association thing. It's like, yeah, it's like, imagine if I said communism is bad, and it's like, you know who also says communism is bad? White supremacists. That's what's happening here. I'm trying to go through this as quickly as possible. And while PewDiePie only follows a few hundred people on Twitter, many of them are alt-right identified figures, including Peterson, who is not alt-right. Again, it's like, many of these people are alt-right figures. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, like Hassan Piker of the Young Turks, like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, all alt-right figures. That's what they're doing here. The prominent Gamergate writer Ian Miles Chong, who is, again, why would an Asian be alt-right? I find this interesting that most of the people they call alt-right are either Jewish or Asian, or like they're not white. They're not even white. Not this article, but I mean in general. InfoWars editor Paul Joseph Watson, also not alt-right. He has gone against white nationalism multiple times. YouTube philosopher Stefan Molyneux. Now, something is, I can understand why people think he's alt-right, because sure, he talks about a lot of, like, at a cursory glance, I can understand why people think he's alt-right. But the thing is, if you're going to do actual research, if you're going to come out and say this, like if you're going to come out and say for sure, because notice how I have not said whether this ER guy is alt-right or not, because I really don't know. I've not said he's not. I've not said he is. I'm going after the Vox article for saying for sure, and I'm commenting on how they don't seem to have that much evidence. But here they're just like, yeah, blatant. Alt-right YouTube philosopher Stefan Molyneux. He's not alt-right. The alt-right like him, I'll be honest. The alt-right do, I will concede that. Unlike people like Peterson, a lot of alt-right people do like Stefan Molyneux because he talks about a lot of stuff that overlaps with the alt-right. But they probably haven't noticed that, hey, he put out like 3 or 4 videos attacking anti-Semitism, attacking like dislike, like hatred of Jewish people. He made those videos, and like, good for him. So if he was really alt-right, like, he has made more videos than the average person on why anti-Semitism is bad. Like, good for him. The alt-right Canadian blogger Lauren Southern, who is not alt-right. Again, the recently red-pilled YouTube personality Lacey Green, which, hey, they didn't call her alt-right. I wouldn't exactly call her red-pilled. I would just say she backed off from the far left because she said, I like having my own, she said it was poisonous. I'm not using her exact words, but she essentially said, hey, the community was too constricted. It wasn't fun to be part of. But she's still left-wing, and it's I have nothing wrong with that. She's still left-wing, that's fine. The leading figures of YouTube's reactionary right-wing community, like Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, PewDiePie also followed notorious alt-right YouTuber Sargon of Akkad. That's another one where it's alt-right YouTuber Sargon of Akkad. Imagine saying that unironically. Imagine being such an awful person that you could put that down. Because again, we're not saying Republican or Democrat, like Sargon of Akkad. Those terms, if you get it wrong, it's okay. It's wrong. It's obviously it's bad that you did that and you should correct it. But to call someone alt-right, you're calling someone anti-Semite, white nationalist, white supremacist. In their term, when people think alt-right, they think white supremacist. And they're calling Sargon of Akkad that, and it's how many? I have no words for this, honestly. Again, it's pretty much like calling Peterson alt-right. Can you imagine the number of videos Sargon has made saying why the alt-right is bad? Probably 10, 15. He debated Richard Spencer. He debated a lot of the alt-right people. In fact, do you know why he got suspended from Patreon? Because he insulted the alt-right. Because he was insulting and attacking the alt-right. That's why they banned him from Patreon, because he was using he was using the N-word to make fun of Nazis, to attack white nationalist people. And to his defiant followers, this is going to be an hour-long video. I'm sorry. To his defiant followers, PewDiePie has come to represent a larger culture clash over YouTube itself. This makes his alt-right ties even more pernicious. It can't be overstated that PewDiePie's massive popularity has given him unquestionable influence over the future of YouTube. In fact, his channel currently sits directly at the center of what seems to be a growing divide between two very different directions of an increasingly polarized platform. On one side lies many overlapping subcultures that make up huge swaths of the YouTube population. It's gaming communities, let's players, live streamers, machinima-style editors, vloggers, stuff like that. On the other side lies many YouTube users who visit the site for other reasons than other forms of entertainment, and who arguably aren't interested in supporting the cult of personalities that might be said to represent old-school YouTube. Instead, they come to the site for music, memes, narrative media, instructional videos, and more general forms of content consumption and entertainment. These two editors of a vast YouTube spectrum have clashed recently over two interesting and arguably related phenomena, both of which directly involve PewDiePie. The first is an ongoing battle that PewDiePie supporters have been waging in order to prevent his channel from being surpassed as the most popular one on YouTube. Yes, it's kind of it's just a funny joke thing. There's this site, there's this YouTube channel T-Series, which I guess is some kind of Indian media site, and it's up to 75 million subscribers. And it's become a joke thing. It's become a good, it's become a new thing to try to make sure PewDiePie is still number one. I've seen conservative sites say, subscribe to PewDiePie. I've seen left-wing sites. I have seen non-political people say, subscribe to PewDiePie. I have seen big-name YouTubers make hour-long videos saying, subscribe to PewDiePie. It's just, it's fun. It's some harmless fun. This is actually kind of funny. To keep this from happening, they've done everything from take out a Times Square billboard to reportedly hacking into 50,000 printers around the world in order to promote their subscribe to PewDiePie meme. At least Vox got that right. It's a meme. The second involves YouTube's annual year-end rewind video. The 2018 video, released on December 6th and described by YouTube as a who's who of internet culture, omitted a number of popular YouTubers, most notably PewDiePie. In response, PewDiePie's followers started a campaign encouraging people to vote down the video, with the result that within a matter of days, YouTube's 2018 rewind video has rapidly overtaken an 8-year-old Justin Bieber single to become the most disliked video in YouTube history. Now, I don't think it was much of PewDiePie's fans that said downvote that video. Certainly that had something to do with it. Certainly there were a lot of people that downvoted the video it was because PewDiePie wasn't in it. But I think you're overstating that. It was a pretty bad video. Honestly, it was pretty awful. I kind of follow like these groups. I've been following like the subscribe to PewDiePie meme community. I'm part of that, and I have yet to see anyone saying vote it down because PewDiePie wasn't in it. I've just seen people saying vote it down because it was bad. All eye rolling at YouTube's attempts to encourage community aside, when viewed in the context of PewDiePie's extremely high level of influence over followers who in turn deeply committed to waging meme war in his name, his alt-right ties become even more concerning. Again, you have yet to prove any actual like alt-right ties that I couldn't tie to Vox. It's like, oh, did you know that at the moment I am going through an article where Vox talks about alt-right people? This article is dedicated to alt-right people. Imagine that. Like, this is the kind of journalism they do. Obviously, anyone watching this video that has decided to spend 55 minutes watching this, holy moly. Anyone that's watching this video is fully aware that Vox is not endorsing PewDiePie or the alt-right, but all I have to say is, oh, Vox is writing articles about alt-right people. They're giving alt-right people a platform. They're giving them media attention. That's all I have to say to reach Vox-style levels of journalism. In essence, YouTube's most influential personality is using his platform in ways that carry the potential to push millions of his already devoted followers towards online extremism. They're already deploying the same tools of memify, joking, harassment, and brigading that the alt-right is known to deploy, tactics rooted in the kind of online trollishness. I can't talk because it's been so... I'm losing my voice. That can seem purely jovial and harmless right up until it becomes something more. The frustrating nature of PewDiePie's alignment with alt-right culture is that by repeatedly dismissing criticism as oversensitivity, insisting he's just being satirical, he maintains the plausible deniability that the alt-right counts on to aid in distilling its messaging throughout mainstream culture. This here This is essentially just the Vox saying like, oh, turns out that when a bunch of media companies go after him for no good reason and lie about him, he just brushes it off. Why? And that's a bad thing. Why isn't PewDiePie taking us seriously? This article is basically just calling and saying like, PewDiePie, please listen to us. Please, everyone listen. Tell PewDiePie that this is a big issue here, and it's not. Not at all. All they have done so far is go after him for jokes. That's the thing. And odd, like, second-tier connections, guilt by association crap. It's horrible because, again, it's all down to, like, when someone says something wrong, are they doing it out of malice or are they doing it out of stupidity? I don't know if, I can't tell if Vox is genuinely this stupid. I can't tell if this person is genuinely this dumb. I think they're doing it out of malice. Because it's like, how do you get this point? Even Vox, like, I'll admit Vox is a very popular platform. I'll admit that, like, you probably have to be a good writer. You probably have to be reasonably intelligent to become a writer for Vox. So you have to at least, like, do something to, or you have to, like, I don't know how to put, you know what I mean. I'm not endorsing the writers or anything. I'm just saying, like, you have to be motivated. You have to be at least somewhat intelligent to become a writer. So I think this is out of malice. I think this is entirely out of malice. Because there's no way this person could be this stupid. Members of alt-right movements, including the owner of the ER channel, are fully aware of this. On his Gab account, when another user asked him, what is the best way to red pill people in the Jewish question, the owner of the ER channel responded, pretend to joke about it until the punchline really lands. This is linking to Right Wing Watch. Of course. Why didn't you link to the actual Gab post? Of course. Pretend to joke about it until the punchline really lands. Now that's condemning right there. I do find it rather odd that they didn't put that at the very beginning. That's pretty dang condemning. Of course, I could go to Right Wing Watch, which is just even more cancer. So why didn't they link to the actual, like, that's what annoys me. And I'm not going to go through that because you're not going to want to watch me sitting here for 10 minutes while I do research on something that I probably should have clicked on earlier, I'll admit. Like, why not just link right to the post? That's why. Like, why link to a left-wing interpretation of the post? Why not just link to the post? That shows me they have something to hide. Or at the very least, they never actually did the research. They just went to the Right Wing Watch and they found that and they're like, oh, let's source this. Because you know what I do? Like, when I cite sources, you know what I do? I find, like, when I do research, usually what happens is I find an article. I find an article that talks about the research I want. I go through, and I don't cite the article. I find what they were citing until I find the original source, and then I cite that. But as the latest controversial, we're almost at the end, I promise. It's not going to be under an hour, but I promise we're nearing the end. As the latest controversy around PewDiePie illustrates, his jokes have failed to land with many YouTube users, and there's growing frustration with YouTube for not doing more to combat the growth of extremism in its midst. See, that's the thing. There's frustration with YouTube not fighting extremism. Do you know what there's even more frustration for? Is YouTube fighting people that aren't extremists. That's what's annoying. They'll go after people that aren't extremists. And that's why people get so angry. Like, they're spending their time going after PewDiePie, of all people. And it's like, imagine having nothing better to do than just slander this guy. Though its most recent move of simply erasing PewDiePie from its rosily optimistic look back at 20... It's almost as if they didn't even read the article after they... And why wouldn't that even come up with... Okay, I know I'm just nitpicking, and this is not worth the time. But why did... Like, wouldn't that come up on spell check at least? From its rosily optimistic look back at 2018 might temporarily help to create a positive public image when considering the evolution of PewDiePie's influence alongside his steady drift toward the far right, of which we have yet to see any evidence so far. It's increasingly difficult to look back and laugh. I'm looking back and laughing because you guys are ridiculous. Like, okay, so we're at the end of the article. Are there comments? I'm actually interested. No, there's no comments because I forgot Vox does not put things in their comment section, or does not have a comment section, because they don't want to see a bunch of people calling them liars. But yeah, okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. This has already gone on for way too long. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. Kudos to you if you made it to the end. Link is in the description if you want to follow this and go through it more, but there's not much to say that's not already been said. Subscribe for more, and thanks for watching.